Welcome to the What's Up Verdict podcast, where we fashion ourselves cinematic judge and jury. My name is JJ Crowder. I'm here with my co-host, Mattson.
Better red than dead.
And Alec Burgess.
Let's get it.
We appreciate you tuning in. Go ahead, hit that follow, subscribe, like, bell notification button, all those buttons. Hit them. Tell a friend about us. Tell your enemies about us. Tell your dog about us. Not that it'll matter to them, but give you somebody else to tell. Couple things. Housekeeping before we move forward. As you guys know, if you've checked out our website or if you looked anywhere where we announce what we're doing, we've talked about it. We've been talking about doing Avatar. We're gonna amend December's lineup. So we'll just tell
apparently
you. Apparently,
we are biased and mean and harsh on movies. So since none of us really want to watch it, we're trying to avoid that biased and harsh.
Are we referencing some comment from YouTube or something?
Couple, we've gotten a couple where it's like we're too, and then we had like a review. You weren't here for the review one. There was a review that somebody left about us being too serious or too hard on stuff, and so we had a good laugh about it. And
wow, that's never been a claim.
Maybe. I know, right? Anyway, so we've been too harsh, and we both, especially because Mattson's traveling, so he wouldn't be on the episode with us for it at the end of this month. So the one person that would probably not shit all over this movie, possibly.
Why? Because I'm known as a CGI guy, and it's going to be hard to rip that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
you hit it right on the head of the nail.
Pretty much. I mean, if there was one of the three of us that would like the movie, it's gonna be you.
I don't like the first Avatar.
Well, then we're never mind. I backed that train.
I never. Did it look good, and did it advance cinema in some of those ways? I mean, it did, but I don't think it's a great movie.
Good. Then
therefore, I'm not excited for the second one.
Therefore, we're gonna. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put at the end of the month, so the 26th of December. Alec and I are gonna do a year in review, and we'll make sure the real Ginge up here gives us some information that we can share. So his year in review can be part of that.
Edit and then share.
That's fair too. There's no HHs in there, Mattson. You know what I'm talking about.
I know. Wow, we have not brought that up in a while.
I know, and I can't say it because we're on YouTube now. But none of that shit. So we'll do a year in review. That'll be on the 26th, and then I will leave the option out there for you to email us, hosts@whatsourverdict.com. It's working again because our website's back up. You can also go to whatsourverdict.com and leave us a comment there. If you want us to review it, leave it. Charles, you're not the only one that gets a vote here. So if you email me and say you want us to watch it, I'll take it into consideration. But just because you email us doesn't mean we're going to do that one because you said it. It'll take a few more.
Your opinion matters less and less. Shut up.
That's not true. Your opinion on Patreon always matters. 100%.
Always matter. Whatever. Charles knows I love him secretly, but not really.
It's true. He won't after. Anyway, that movie's coming on tomorrow. So anyway, he won't love you soon. But anyway, So, but for Avatar, email us if you want us to review it. We will if we get enough people to say they want us to. If not, we'll figure out January's lineup and put it on the website. And Charles, you'll get to vote for your January collection pretty soon. I'm going to start collecting those and putting that up there on the Patreon. So if you want to vote for what we watch and listen to and are really mean to apparently almost all the time, get on the Patreon. You can vote. With that, we're here. What were you going to say, Mattson?
I was just saying exciting times. We got some TV shows heating up again after the holidays, and we have been a little bit lighter on content in December, as you'd expect. Lots of stuff going on. We appreciate y'all being patient with us, but there's going to be more coming.
Yeah, Last of Us. So excited. Anyway, and then Alec and I will be tackling The Legend of Vox Machina as well, starting in January. That one's not a Mattson thing, so
no, I'll pass.
But then there's other things in talks, so we'll let you know. Anyway, today let's move on to this episode. We're reviewing It's a Wonderful Life, continuing on with Charles's votes for the Patreon. It's a Wonderful Life was released January 7th, 1947. It was written by Francis Goodrich, Albert Hackett, and Frank Capra. It was directed by Frank Capra. Stars James Stewart. It's really weird. Like they list him as James. I only know him as Jimmy Stewart. So it's really weird. Anyway, stars Jimmy Stewart, Donna Reed, Lionel Barrymore, Thomas Mitchell, Balula Bondi, Henry Travers, Frank Phelan, Ward Bond, Gloria Graham, Frank Albertson, and Todd Carnes. The movie is about an angel that is sent from heaven to help a desperately frustrated businessman by showing him what life would have been like if he had never existed. Let's I'm gonna turn the time over. We're trying a new thing. It's time for Mattson's synopsis.
Favorite part of the show.
And now we're gonna we've changed movies so that we're not too mean, and now we're gonna turn it over to Mattson to be mean.
Look, a couple things here. You do have the option of watching this movie in color. Thank God that exists now. So just wanted to put that out there. Secondly, I'm not going to hold the aspect ratio against this movie because Zack Snyder, this movie, there was no other option. So let's be okay with that. I'm not going to gripe about it. I can accept that. That's okay. Man, my first problem with this movie, and that comes to the summary, is if you're looking for high school age individuals that age normally, it's just not true here. These are 40-something-year-old adults going to high school that then go to college that then get jobs. It doesn't make any sense there. And then we follow the life of a George Bailey who, for the life of me, nothing can go right in this man's life in the way that he wants it to. He has a problem of just not saying no and having too big of a heart and too much pride, and it bites him in the ass. And because of that, he doesn't get to go on his trip. He doesn't get to run a different business, experience life, but what he does get is a smoking hot girl. We'll say that much. Like, he did that right. But he probably could have gotten another somewhere else. I don't know. But the man has kids on kids, stays at the building and loan, and keeps his dad's crappy legacy going, and barely has $1 to his name. They renovate a rundown, beaten up house that you drive by in your own neighborhood, and you're like, wow, that meth house hasn't been touched in years. All of this to say, it drives him to the point of madness where he is staring at a cold river at the edge of a bridge where he is thinking, should I jump off? And then this like D-list angel that doesn't have wings comes down and puts him in a very frightening Harry Potter-esque version of what his life could have looked like if he went there, where he can interact with these people and just have like the biggest mind fuck of his life. And he then begins to experience what life would be like if he was never born. What a movie. What I will say, this movie's ending, the last 20 to 30 minutes, cinematic gold. Incredible. The ending, build up to that, awesome. But the hour 30 beforehand, slow. Actors that are too old playing people that are too young, and a lot of misery. And last point, is this a Christmas movie? I don't think so. It has Christmas at the end, but the whole story has nothing to do with Christmas except for the spirit of giving and seeing beyond yourself. To me, not a Christmas movie. There's my synopsis. Thank you for listening.
It's a good thing he wasn't on White Christmas, because that was not technically a Christmas movie either.
Yeah, as usual, Mattson, you watched the whole movie and missed the whole motherfucking point.
I will say, though, I am proud of you, because I think this is your first official not repeating me or quoting the movie F-bomb.
No way. Congratulations, Mattson.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I didn't mean to do that. I'll apologize later and repent. But this was that type of movie.
I love it.
I've seen this movie before. Everyone should have probably seen it. I mean, I guess not after my review, but thank goodness I will not be watching this again for quite some time.
I will say this. This is one of my favorite Christmas movies. I think it was. I don't want to say it is my favorite, because it's one of those things where
Christmas what, JJ? Tell me.
Dude, see, and this is the way you can tell that he doesn't actually listen to our episodes either, Alec, because we talked about this in length with White Christmas, and that is
the best Christmas movies have nothing to do with Christmas.
Exactly. Like, here's the problem with modern day Christmas movies. And seriously, think about most modern day Christmas movies, because the most 99% of modern day Christmas movies show up where?
Streaming services.
Hallmark.
Sure, there you go. Or
And
now
they're-
Netflix, but yes.
And they're, yeah, Netflix. It's the same trash. It's fucking. I mean, Netflix might be a little better, maybe,
No.
but it's only
No.
because they have contracts with people that are better than Q list stars, and so they will get some big stars. But the movies are trash. They're remakes of, like, okay, so we were talking about, what was the one we were talking about? Like Falling Over for Christmas. Falling for Christmas is the name of this movie. Casey loves Christmas. Her family, and I'm a holidays, that's fine, cool, whatever. But Casey loves Christmas, so she'll put on random fucking Christmas movies. She put on this Falling for Christmas shit from Netflix, and I don't even remember who's in it, but it's Overboard. The movie Overboard turned into a Christmas movie. Instead of falling off a boat and almost drowning, this dipshit falls off a fucking side of a mountain, fucking hits her head on a tree.
Movie. This is the one with Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah, can't fuck. It's Overboard back in the 80s. And in the 80s, Overboard was a great movie. It's a funny ass movie. But they went, let's take a working formula, throw it in the Christmas time, put some holiday gags and shit in there and decorations, and let's make it fucking Christmas movie. That's shit. This, yes, it's not a Christmas. There's not Christmas everywhere. In fact, 90% of the movie takes place not during Christmas. But then during the Christmas season, and the point of the movie is that you have all this build up and you have this great dialogue, and you have actors that are in a high school that you're like 50, dude, but whatever. The reason I like it is that it focuses on the real purpose of Christmas. And that is, we have to know this person in his situation in order to understand the sacrifice and the reason that he's in this position to jump himself off a bridge. And that's the same like with White Christmas, where it's all about their commanding officer. And so most of it doesn't take place during Christmas either. It's just a matter of, we're doing the right thing for the right reasons, and it's the holiday season, and so it works. Most Christmas movies nowadays, except for a handful like that we've already done, aren't good to me. Like, I don't enjoy them at all. Like, yeah.
And you have to look at the time too, right? This film was released 1947, which means anybody seeing it has seen the stock market crash, the Great Depression, or World War II. And George Bailey, in that first hour and a half that Mattson doesn't like, you see him broken. He's depressed.
Going through all of those things.
He has anxiety. He is feeling like a failure. And he has all these stages that show that really he's not a great person. He's an average Joe. Like, he's got a lot of stuff that's wrong with him. He's mean-spirited on multiple occasions. He is jealous of everybody else who gets to go and kind of live his dream. He's envious. So he has all these really bad parts of his life that are kind of overshadowed by the fact that when the chips are down, he does the right thing again and again and again, regardless of what it costs him. So he's getting the man to his breaking point, and how he gets to be standing over this bridge contemplating suicide because he's actually worth more dead than alive.
And to be honest, George Bailey's kind of a dick.
Yeah,
I mean, from a kid on, like, other than saving, like when he's a kid, other than saving his brother and then taking care of Mr. Gower, like the first thing he does when he walks into the freaking shop after wishing for $1 million, which is hot dog, that's funny shit. But when he walks up and asks freaking Mary what she wants for ice cream, and he's like, coconut? She says, I don't like coconut. What are you, stupid? Yeah, and then he puts down a magazine and says, you know where coconuts come from? Here, right here. And then immediately snatches the magazine away and goes, of course you ain't never seen this because it's only us explorers. I'm like, at least let her look like you're trying to show her. And then she has just told you she doesn't want coconut, doesn't like coconut. And what does this little fucker end up doing? Putting coconut all over her goddamn chocolate ice cream. What an asshole.
Yeah. That would piss me off. I'm a Joyce.
Yeah. Yeah, he's kind of a dick.
Yeah, and then it continues on. Like, he's he's not a very nice person.
No,
he's what you'd expect from someone who's lived through these shitty times, where it's kind of wrung out like a damp towel to where he's stretched thin, and no matter what he does, he cannot go live his dream. He has one dream, and even during World War II, the people who wanted to stay in Bedford Falls, like Ernie and Bert, the cab driver and the police officer, they get to go to war. George can't because he's 4F. He has to stay home. And, they get to see these foreign places that was this man's entire dream. And he can't live it. And he makes him bitter and mean.
Yeah, if you're going to be in this movie, you want to be everyone but George Bailey. Like, except maybe Potter, because that guy's kind of a dick too.
Yeah, but at least he has money and he's a dick.
True. And he is Drew Barrymore's grandpa.
So, pluses.
It's fair. It is fair.
But yeah, so that's what you missed, Mattson.
I didn't miss any of that, but this movie being 2 hours and 10 minutes, if you could have given that to me in an hour and 40 minutes, I think there's 20 to 30 minutes of that I didn't need to see that could have been condensed, and I would have liked that movie that much more.
I will agree that this movie it's long. Like I get, like, we didn't need almost the entire, and I get why they did it, but like the whole almost dance sequence, like you could have done almost the whole high school sequence in like half the time. There's a lot of things that are like, there's a handful of things that could have been cut out that could still get the story across. Now, I've watched this movie so many times I could almost quote the damn thing because we watch it at least once a year. Since we're doing this early, I'll end up watching it twice this year because we'll watch it on Christmas Eve. But it's like I can almost quote the movie, but it is long, like 2 hours, over 2 hours, especially. There's a lot in there that you could probably condense. I don't think you could get rid of any of it because it tells George's story and why he is the way he is when we get to that point. However, some of it they do drag out a little bit, some of the story, and like the run on the banks. Like once you get past the first guy, like you could have cut away and shown the line and he's just giving away his money and then immediately cut to them saving the two Somalians. But like, so, I mean, there's a lot of, you could probably make it an hour and 50 minutes or an hour and 45 and it would have been
like, I just say all that because there's like, for me, when they had their honeymoon in that old rundown house and those guys with the posters and kind of their back and forth banter, it's literally things like that's the character of the movie, or like the people that hit the button on the pool that opened it, like, cool, George Bailey's on the crack. I get that he stole the dude's girl. Just things like that where I know, Alec, you'll probably appreciate it. You laugh at it, those little nuances, but cutting that out because of any of this movie, it does the build up, everything you guys talked about, the struggle, everything. That's why I do like the end of this movie because I understood they painted the picture and painted it well. I've clearly grasped that his life sucked for what he wanted to get to, and he couldn't see what he had got and what that actually meant, the stock of people caring about him than necessarily the monetary means of that. And the ending felt that when they were singing that song, that I don't know the title of that famous song, but you felt it. You're like, yeah, damn, like he did it. And Clarence is getting his wings, like, wow. But it earned that because of that journey. But I just think in today's age where I'm bred to watch different types of movies and we're in a different pace of life, it feels slow.
Sure.
You're right. I do love that pool scene, but for a completely different reason. Do you recognize who pushed the button, JJ?
No.
That's freckle-faced Haynes, the dog face boy.
Shut up. It really is, isn't it?
It is.
Oh my God. That's hilarious. Crossovers, dude. Crossovers. That's hilarious. Man. Yeah, we got the dog face boy. We got Drew Barrymore's uncle. We got, I mean, we're doing good.
Yeah, this is it's not my favorite Christmas movie, like you talked about earlier, JJ. I think it's the best Christmas movie ever made, but it's not my favorite.
I agree.
And it is because of the work that they put in through this storyline to make you, I mean, you root for George Bailey, even though, as we talked before, he's an asshole. He's not really a nice person. You shouldn't be rooting for him, and yet you are, because even though he never asks for help, the people who surround him do what they can where they can without kind of crossing that line to, offering help without him asking for it, until it gets to the point where they can all tell he's lost it. And that's kind of where we start the movie, where they're all praying for George Bailey, because made in a different time, that's how people kind of went about helping people, right? You add them to your prayers, or however it was, to try and help out your friend where you can't physically go help them out because they haven't asked for it, and you don't want to kind of raise their ire if they really don't need it.
It's true.
Which all leads us to that last little bit of movie.
I have a question for this group. One of my favorite Christmas movies is A Christmas Story. Do you both just hate that movie?
You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
You know how I feel about that movie.
It's the worst Christmas movie ever because they play it 24 hours on TBS every year.
I don't like it just because I don't like it. Like, it's not like I don't like the movie. Like,
it's a bad
there's only one part of that movie that I enjoy, and that's the oh fudge. Like that, I giggle my ass off. And then the dad just like losing his shit over the lamp. Like that shit's funny too to me. But like there's pockets of that movie that are funny. But when it comes to me, like the movie has no point. Like it's like it was the first of the movies that, because of its popularity, I feel like Hallmark and now Netflix make the movies that they make. Yeah.
Okay. I really like that movie, and I think it's well placed around the Christmas time. Now, when I say I like that movie, do I recognize and say it's the greatest movie I've ever seen? No, not even close. But I think that's more of a Christmas movie, where this movie ends on Christmas and has the values of what Christmas is supposed to be. I mean, I can't argue that, but it doesn't feel like a Christmas movie surrounding the holidays. And for me, that is a big requirement. Why I say a movie is a Christmas movie or not a Christmas movie. I mean, it gets back to like Die Hard, for instance, people saying that is or isn't a Christmas movie. And we all know, for our listeners, if you haven't listened to it, go listen to it. And I think that has a big thing for me, that if we're saying, is this a good movie? Yeah, it's a good movie. But if you guys are trying to argue me this is a Christmas movie, I very much disagree there. I'm probably in the minority, but I think that'd be a fun poll for like America to say or not say. Because I think most people will say this is if everyone will say this is a good movie, but I don't know if they'll say it's a Christmas movie.
I think so. It's one of those too that like movie theaters actually play this during the
Christmas.
holidays. Yeah, like Casey, I usually will try to find, Utah's been, ironically enough, you'd think with all the freaking Christians around this joint that there'd be plenty of this playing around, but there's not. Like, it's hard to find a theater in Utah that plays it. In Ohio, it's great. Every theater in the state played this shit.
I think it'd be funny to pull everyone from JJ's generation and up, and Alec can't vote because he's like an old soul in a younger body.
Because like I think 92.
From JJ to people so we're talking like 40 and younger, 40 and older. I think if you pulled it, obviously from JJ up, that group is going to say it's a Christmas movie because that's the way it's been billed and bred. But I think below that, I don't really think people would attribute. And I don't think, unfortunately, probably a lot of people haven't seen this movie. That's
probably true. And I will say, like, this was something that played on repeat at my grandmother's house. Like, because she loved, Jimmy Stewart was like the guy for that generation. Like my mom, my grandma's, like Jimmy Stewart was the guy. And she's like Alec. She's an old soul. Like she likes watching. That's why we were going to have her on, but unfortunately she's not feeling good. So, because she'd be laying into your ass right now. In fact, she'd be laying into all of us. But like, she loves like Jimmy Stewart. Like he's got a movie. I don't even remember the name of it now, but he sees like this giant rabbit, and it's freaking hilarious. But yeah, like I don't disagree with you there. I think depending on generationally, I think that could definitely make a difference on whether they see it as a Christmas movie or not a Christmas movie. But to me, like it makes, like I look at it as, just because of the last And again, for me, it's not necessarily about the fact that it even ends on Christmas. It could not end on Christmas per se, just end somewhere around there. And to me, it's still just like the tenets of Christmas or the holidays to me that makes a lot of sense. Where, because the best part about, because he's an asshole, but George Bailey is like Alex said, when the chips are down and things have to happen and he has to step in and be the good person, he does. And so for me, like a lot of times that is really the tale of, yes, he can be a dick, but at heart, he's a good person. He wants people to be successful. He wants to be happy. Like the one place that you don't see, like the chips weren't down with his brother. He could have gone to college. You know what I mean? Like he could have let the building and loan close and it wouldn't have really mattered, but he did that because he understood at that moment the impact of what would happen, right? And I think that's the difference between what we see George Bailey through most of this movie and George Bailey after his knuckleheaded uncle loses $8,000. Because that's the worst part is he's done all these things, and truth be told, he's had some pretty good luck for the kind of dick he's had. Bad. I mean, he's had bad luck, but most of the things that have not happened were because he made a choice, right? The one really shitty thing that happens to him that pushes him over the edge wasn't his fault, and he didn't have any choice in the matter. It was Uncle Billy screwed up, and Uncle Billy made a poor choice to friggin' rub it in, the old man's face that Harry Bailey's coming back a war hero, loses the $8,000, and now it's all, but it's going to fall on George, right? And so I think that's the most intriguing part. But the other piece, and we talked about, Alec, this with White Christmas, and that is the dialogue to me, especially in these older movies, it has to be there. And that's one of the bigger pieces is, yes, there's pieces of this movie that didn't need to be there, in my opinion, but the dialogue that is there, the jokes, the serious moments, the pensive moments of George. Like one of my favorite parts of this movie is after Harry comes home with the wife and he's standing out on his front porch smoking a cigarette and he's pissed. And he has this conversation with his mom who completely understands the situation, right? And knows her kid. And that whole scene where he sends Uncle Billy and freaking falling over, I'm fine. Yeah, I love that moment. And then his mom comes out and she's trying to convince him to go see Mary, and he's being a shithead again. And I just really like, those are the moments where I go, yeah, deep down, George Bailey's a good dude. He just is, he's a cocky dick. And that's how he hides. Because the other piece that we don't talk a lot about, because it's so open, we're still not as open as we should be, but we're so open about mental health and emotional issues, and especially not to, and please nobody read into this, because I understand that both genders have plenty of mental and emotional issues, but one of the worst parts about being a man is it's not okay to talk about those things most of the time. And in this generation, at this time of life, it was not even remotely okay. You know what I mean? So that was his defense mechanism, with the fact that what Alec's talking about is he was depressed, he was upset, he probably had some inferiority complex. He probably questioned, why did I save my brother? I would still have my hearing. I would still be able to go to war. There's all these things that we know he's fighting with internally, and he doesn't get to talk about it with anybody, even to the point that his mom comes out to try to talk to him. And then later on, we see Mary, his wife, try to talk to him about some of these things, and he just shuts everybody down. So it's really, for me, and it's one of the things I love the most about this movie, is watching this journey of this broken man that is really good at heart, but uses him being a dick as a defense mechanism most of his life, being able to come full circle and see at the end the impact that he's made, because he doesn't recognize that. And shame on all these people that should be telling, you know what I mean, and making him feel that way. And I'm not saying you got to swoon over the dude constantly every day, but like sometimes more than a thank you is, and I'm not saying give him money, but like reiterate, George, we appreciate you. You know what I mean? And that's the kind of crazy thing that when you look at that time frame versus now, I think we're better about it in some ways now, sometimes, but it's a challenge no matter
we're
what.
More vocal about
Fair.
The ones that we do to get the attention or to get the acclimate, because it makes us feel better too when people say, Like, oh, I help so and so, and it's like, oh, well, that was so great of you to help so and so.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know if we're to the point of like actually helping people who need it, unless we can get something out of it for ourselves, because we're extremely selfish.
Sure, and the stigmas are still there, right? Like there's still a serious mental health stigma across the board, and especially with like opening up. And I can only speak from a male perspective because I am one, but I know it's very difficult for men, most men, to have those conversations openly. So,
especially because who are you going to go to? Like, especially in George Bailey's case, his group of friends, Sam Wainwright's not going to do anything. Like, you go to your mom. Your mom has her own kind of problem. She's a widow trying to run a boarding house in Bedford Falls, of all places.
Yeah,
like there's not a whole lot of avenues where he can go, especially when he has the entire town kind of on his back. He's the only person standing between them and living in, Potterville in the slums.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the scene that always gets me in this is when they have the run on the bank, and that one guy, Tom, it's like, I have $242. And it's after George is like, okay, I got $2,000. Yeah. And he's like, I'll take 242.
Yeah.
And then,
asshole.
Yeah. And then like the woman after's like, that's your money. And George's like, it's okay, type of a thing. But freaking Tom has a house from the building and loan. He's put money in the building and loan. And as soon as, it looks like it's going to be dark days ahead, he's ready to cut and run on the people that, lent him money when he needed it.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to think that Tom is a special case, but Tom is pretty much most people.
Sure. Well, and then it really irritates me because Tom is like in the forefront at the end when everybody's coming in giving him money. I'm like, get the fuck out of here, Tom. Nobody wants you.
You don't get to be here. Nobody wants your money.
I don't want your money. Get the hell out of here. Give it unless you're going to give him $242.08. Get the fuck out of here. I will say that I do watch this movie in black and white. I have both versions. Amazon does offer it in both versions. And I used to be in Mattson's camp. I didn't like black and white movies. This is the movie that converted me to understanding why I don't do color when it's black and white anymore. Because it just like, to me, and I know this is not the popular, especially the younger than me and people that enjoy it, but I don't enjoy the reproduced color as much as I do just watching it in black and white. But yeah,
I'm not going to disagree there. I also watched this in black and white.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Good for you, buddy.
We're making progress.
You are.
Last thing for me, because we've talked about all this serious stuff. I think I've said everything I want to say but I need to understand, could they just not typecast characters that look their age back in 1946 or 47? Because it is, you have to admit, pretty laughable that they are passing up some of these people as high schoolers, because man, they don't look close to being in high school.
Well, they weren't all high schoolers. It was more like the high school dance was a community event more than anything.
Which was real back then. Like my grandma used to say, small communities, she would talk about the fact that they would go years after they graduated to these dances.
I'm saying is in Bedford Falls, you've got like your 0 to 10-year-olds, and then you've got like your early preteens, and then you're jumping to like your late teenagers, early 20s people look like they're 40 and 50, and then your old people look real effing old. That's all I'm saying.
There's two things that cause that. Part of it is the time frame. They looked older. And nowadays you'll see 20-year-olds that look like they're 12. Sure. And we're getting back to, though, like, especially with makeup and different things, you're seeing, like, I can't remember. I was hanging out with somebody, and their like niece walked in. Like, oh, it's my niece. She's like 14. And I was like, she's fucking 30. You're full of shit. She's 14. And then I've seen like guys they're like, yeah, I'm 16. And I'm like, motherfucker, like, I'm like freaking Will Smith and
Bad Boys.
Motherfucker, you look 30. Like, it's just like, so, but in the time, and then the second piece is the acting profession has changed a lot from that time frame. Back then, acting wasn't like the glamorous profession it is now. In fact, there was a lot of like places in LA and in the early 30s when acting with voices and even like the silent films they wouldn't let you in to your. It literally had signs that said no actors,
no dogs.
Yeah, you weren't allowed to have that shit because they're like, they called them lazy. They called them, they weren't real jobs. And so it wasn't this glamorous piece of fame. Now it was getting better in this time. Jimmy Stewart really changed that a lot. This time frame was probably when things were starting to transition to create movie stars. But you didn't have young actors that were like, yeah, I want to be in a movie when I'm 15, 16, 17-year-old. And labor laws were very different back then as well. In fact, I don't think you could hold a job like that because it was a union job until you were 18 plus. Because I think the unions kept you out unless you were an adult.
It's funny to hear that because I would have think back then it would have been so many less rules and regulations and comparatively speaking to what it is now. But it's interesting to hear.
I mean, it's technically still a union job. Technically. I mean, it's the Actors Guild. You have to join the Actors Guild, but it's still a union. They just changed it to a guild because it sounds less ornery. But back then it was a full-on union. It was the Actors Union, and the laws and the bylaws were pretty intense. Like, so you didn't have the young actors. So that's part of it. And then the fame of all those, like Donna Reed and Jimmy Stewart, were just like creme de la creme of actors back then. So they were grabbing them for anything and everything that they could.
Makes sense. So, it's just funny to see it though.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's still like sometimes they'll do things like that, and there's movies still today that I'm like, like, really? Come on now. Like, we watched one, I think, was it last year? What was the football one with the high school in Texas?
Oh,
I cannot think of that. Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, Friday Night Lights.
There's a couple of those high school kids. You're like, you sure this isn't a movie about college ball?
But then I saw a picture of a high school recruit yesterday that looked like he was a seasoned 7-year NFL vet. You probably saw the same one I did, JJ. I was blown away. Dude was like, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. We're it's kind of cyclical, right? And we're coming back into that part of the cycle where younger people are looking older. Because my nephew, or I guess he's my little cousin, we call him my nephew, just went on his LDS mission, but like he played football, and I would go to his football games, and those guys would take their helmet off, and I'm like, did you fail a couple times? Like,
that guy that I referenced, the picture JJ and I saw, that dude's arm is as big as my thigh.
Oh yeah, it's monster. So,
and on that note,
it is funny to watch this movie though. Yeah, eat you Wheaties. But yeah, there's some great lines in this movie. And I have to say it before, or Casey will kill me, but the greatest line in this movie, period, no questions asked. Merry Christmas, movie house. Just so you know, when before she started feeling pretty shitty, she was going to be on, that was going to be her intro.
Beautiful.
It's great. It's great.
Yeah. This movie is surprisingly funny for the dreary story that it's telling. Yeah. And I attribute that a lot to Jimmy Stewart's voice, his diction and everything that he says.
Yeah.
Because he always flip a little bit.
I say.
Little bit foghorn leghorn, but not quite. But he's got a very distinct voice, and it lends to the overall humor. Like near the beginning, after they get in the pool and they're walking home, and Mary loses her robe, right? She's hiding in the bush, and he's walking around trying to decide what he's gonna do. I'm gonna tell your mother. Well, she's up the corner there.
Yeah,
I'll call the police. They're down. They'd be on my side too.
Oh, God.
Maybe I could sell tickets.
Yeah.
You know what's funny about this day and age, though? That scene, I was thinking, like, man, there's some people, if they just wanted to stare at some crap, they would just eat that scene alive. Because,
do.
You're right, Alec. It's a funny scene. Like, everything it sounds like, clever. Like, that's pretty witty. But yeah, there's some people I'm sure hate the hell out of that.
You couldn't make it today.
Oh yeah, no, you couldn't have that.
Oh no, you could not.
It was racy for 1947.
Yeah,
like it was pushing some envelopes. But it's the way he talks and the way he enunciates words.
Envelopes. She shook a bush. You couldn't even see her.
Yeah. It was more the
1947.
Yeah. It's like, one of my the other one is my favorite with Nick in the shit timeline where he after he's dead or he's not never was born and he's like starts hitting the freaking register. He's like, "Get me! I'm giving out wings." I freaking love Nick. He's one of my favorites. The shitty Nick is freaking good. But yeah, get me! I'm giving out wings.
Out the door, through the window.
Yeah. Well, and then the guy in the freaking booth, like the toll booth or whatever for the bridge, like when he goes to spit like 4 times, and every time Clarence says something weird, like he stops and like looks at him.
I died in this.
Yeah, and then he falls. He's like, "I'm an angel. I don't have my wings." Then he falls over and runs out. That whole sequence, like I laugh, tears running down my face. I laugh every time I watch it. It's freaking great.
Didn't laugh one time.
Well, that's because you have no soul and no humor.
Yeah, your red hair, got no soul.
I laughed a lot during Violent Santa.
Oh yeah, Violent Night.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good
laugh,
Christmas
though.
movie. That is a great Christmas movie.
It's up at the top of my list now. For like I said, this will be Violent Night.
I would have liked that movie in black and white.
Yeah, I would have too. Violent Night will join this movie as one that I watch every Christmas now. So
those could not be more different.
Nope. And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, that's what I love Christmas. Like to me, it'll join Die Hard because I watch Die Hard every December too because it's a Christmas movie to me.
It is, Mattson.
I know.
It is.
I know. I was outnumbered last year. You're outnumbered this year.
We don't have time for this, and we've already discussed this. I'm going to save my breath.
I love it. All right, let's rate this thing. I'll go first. I love this movie. It's a staple in my house at Christmas time. George Bailey is an asshole, but he's a lovable asshole that you root for. I'm with Mattson. Freaking Donna Reed. Mary's hot. I like her. And she's probably the most pure of heart character in this whole movie. Just great. And I love the dichotomy between the two of them. You got this grumpy old dick and this just really sweet woman, and that's the nice balance. It works out really well. Zuzu's Petals, love it. It's great. I just love this movie. It's just fun. It's wholesome. It's interesting. I think it's hilarious. I think it tells a great story. It is a little long for me at times, even now that I'm used to it. Like there's times when I'm like, oh, it's phone time. You know what I mean? Because I know where there's the parts that don't add value to this movie for me. But it's one of the few movies that no matter how many times I watch it, the last 10 minutes of this movie pull at my heartstrings. Like I get a little emotional because it's like, and the reason for, in my opinion, is because, Old Lang Syne, you get that song. But seriously, from the time he is begging Clarence on the bridge, saying he wants to live again to the end of the movie, like I get a little misty-eyed and a little tense in the chest because it's, to me, like the story earns that moment because it tells so much about what he's been through and the choices that he's made and how hard it is and where he's at with the 8,000 isn't his fault. And so it's a feel-good movie. It reminds me of Christmas, makes me think of what's important during Christmas. It makes me, enjoy my family and my friends and the things that I do have. So I enjoy the movie. I'm going to give it a 4.5. Again, not perfect, a little long, could have some edits. But when it comes to an old-time feel-good movie and something I watch every year at Christmas, it's up there. So I will obviously watch it again. All right, Mattson.
All right. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to. This is the Christmas time, so that's going to be incorporated into my rating. As you all know, to me, this is not a Christmas movie. Is this a good movie? Yeah, it's not bad. I'm going to give it a 3.5. I've said my piece about what I like and don't like about it, but at its core, this is a well-acted, very well-told story. Appealing visuals for what it was back then as well. I mean, a lot of it is pieced together and it's a good movie, but it is slow. It's not a Christmas movie. It ends on Christmas. This movie has one of the better endings of a movie that I can think of in a while. And I think that's why people like this movie. And to be a good movie, you can have a lot of things happen in the beginning, the middle, but if you end strong and do it well, that's what people are going to remember. And that is what this movie is remembered for. I think it has one of the more iconic endings to a movie. That's why this movie is so popular, and I believe in that. But the beginning, the middle is very slow to me. There were a lot of phone times for me, and if I had to watch this year over year, there would be a lot of phone time. But the ending is worth it, and for that matter, you should definitely watch this movie. Are you going to incorporate into your Christmas time? I don't know, but is it a movie that you should at least watch every once in a blue moon? Yeah.
Love it. Alec, finishes off, buddy.
I'll keep it short and simple. 4.5 for me as well. This is the best Christmas movie that has ever been made. It is one that I watch multiple times every year because no matter how many times I watch it, at the end, I feel good. It is a feel-good movie that is just something that I can sit back and relax and enjoy.
Sounds more like a feel-good movie than a Christmas movie, if I heard you correctly there. So
it's a feel-good movie that happens to be a Christmas movie.
The greatest ever made.
Yes.
I love it. That was as short as sweet as it gets, right? I mean,
that's it.
Perfect. I love it. It's a Wonderful Life, gents and ladies listening. Yeah, with that, Alec, tell everybody where they can find us.
Hee-haw! Thank you for tuning in to our episode for It's a Wonderful Life, which seems like a shitty marketing line in 2022, but this is without a doubt peak Christmas movie. If you enjoy the good times and the vibes and want to kick back with some entertaining and non-biased content while you eat pineapple-flavored gummy bears, search for our other episodes at What's Our Verdict. We are available on all major platforms and the dark web, though I'm not sure how we ended up there. But a listen is a listen, if you know what I mean. We are officially back up on the interwebs like a grown-up podcast with a website and everything. If you need some bling bling for this season, check out our What's Our Verdict t-shirts, available in sizes ranging from beanpole to kingpin. If you like who we are and what we do, or simply like inflicting pain on us, consider joining us on Patreon, where you can mandate content and enjoy access to some bloops and behind-the-scenes shenanigans. Big shout-out to our current patron, Megan the Doll. Merry Christmas to you, good sir. And without further ado, I will send it back to you, JJ.
Thank you. And Merry Christmas to him, but I still hate him. Megan the Doll.
Charles, we should have an exclusive Patreon where you just force JJ to watch that, because I'd pay for it too.
Do not encourage the man. It's almost January, which means he gets his quarterly freaking force us to watch some shit.
Yeah, that Charles, if I know
you have to watch it too, Mattson.
Yeah,
I know. But I didn't
and
know
more
this
importantly,
about.
I have to watch it. Don't encourage this.
I knew that, but I'm willing to put things aside that I don't want to watch because I didn't know JJ didn't want to watch something this bad. For me, it's kind of worth it.
I hate dolls. I hate dolls. Megan the Doll.
Say hi to that doll in your mantle once you're done here, JJ.
Dude. I hate.
I haven't looked at that picture, and I never will.
Oh, it's terrible. And I realize it's ironic, right? Like, considering my back shelf, but those aren't dolls; they're toys.
They're action figures, okay?
And they're like big old heads
coming to life.
Like, they don't look realistic. Like,
Funkos aren't dolls, is what you're saying.
No. And the shit on my shelf, the Christmas, Mrs. Claus, fucking creepy as fuck. I hate it so much. Anyway, yeah, there it is. As always, we appreciate you tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Cinematic out.
Whoa!